Sure.
on.
Yeah. Hit him up. Prison Mike Scotto says, reports that Tyus Jones is one of the point guards on Sacramento's radar. And I got to tell you, big Tyus Jones guy.
Yeah, I've liked Tyus Jones for a few years.
I think if you get Tyus Jones as your backup point guard, you're in a really good spot.
Yep.
If Tyus Jones is the player that the Kings are eyeing to be their starting point guard, I think that cements that they are interested more in just like, hey, avoid irrelevance. Avoid being a 12 seed. Like, just get somebody in it. Like, just battle, scratch, claw. If we make the play in, fine. If that's like that, to me is that type of move where it's just like, you hear this all the time in sports, like playing not to lose versus playing to win.
Mm-hmm.
Signing Tyus Jones to be your starting point guard to me is playing to not lose.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the I don't want to seem like we're talking out of both sides of our mouths here, because we talked when Tyus Jones joined the Phoenix Suns last year. We talked about how that could be a move that put them over the top, that made them a true title contender, and that's because they already had 3 superstars or 2 superstars and 1 star level player, Bradley Beal, who can't stay healthy. But when you add just a game manager, a guy that can go out there and just control things like Mike Connolly does, right?
Yes.
We've talked about just get somebody who can, but that's because those teams have like players that support that.
Yes.
Right. So I do think that Tyus Jones is a really good basketball player. I do think that the Memphis Grizzlies were equal to or better than with Tyus Jones was running the point than when John Morant was for long stretches.
Yes.
I think they went 20-1 at one point with Tyus Jones starting because John Morant was hurt a few years ago. So, like, look, this is a really high-end player who he just doesn't make mistakes. But he's a full-fledged game manager, and I don't think the Kings are in game manager mode. I think they need more dynamic play from that position. And, like, if Tyus Jones is your backup, you're right. You're in a really good spot.
Yeah, for sure.
But here's the problem. If Tyus Jones is your backup, and then you go trade for another point guard, and you don't send out Monk or you don't send out Levine, then all of a sudden you've got like a really, really crowded backcourt. Like Tyus Jones is still a player that can play 24 minutes a game, but that's kind of like the cap on where I would play him. And you're a really good team if Tyus Jones is playing like 18 minutes a game, barring injury, Sure. But if you were to say, go out and get Tyus Jones, but then go out and get another starting level point guard, now you got Jones, you've got your new starter. Then on top of that, you got Monk, you've got Keon Ellis, you've got Devin Carter, you've got Zach LaVine. Like, how are you going to play those guys at all? And the fact is you're not going to. It really reminds me of, like, again, the Darren Collison acquisition when the Kings went out and got Darren Collison. And that's not to just rip on Darren Collison. It's just that Darren Collison wasn't a top 15 point guard.
You believe that they need a star level point guard to get to whatever level they're trying to get to.
Yeah, I just think that, like, if you're going to keep saying this term, head of the snake, and you go from a guy who's averaging 26 points a game to a guy who's going to average 11, that's not the head of the snake at that point. He's not the guy running the show. And I think that, again, you can figure out different ways to fill that position. If it does end up being a guy like Tyus Jones, then you have got to swing for the fences in some other weird trade to go get another point guard that you're bringing along to eventually take over and be the starter. So again, that's where I would go try to get a guy like Trey Mann, who just isn't playing, who had a back problem last year, but who has a ton of potential and just hasn't got his own team yet, right? So if that's what you're going to do, where you're bringing along a young guy, but you've got Tyus Jones to kind of like support during the meantime, almost like if you're going to go out and get a Chris Paul or go out and get one of these other super veteran point guards just to like, that doesn't make any sense for the Kings.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the young guy that they're working with to get better, to train, to learn the position.
Right.
You don't. And like, again, people who can say, well, maybe Devin Carter is not a point guard.
Yeah, I don't think Devin Carter is going to be a point guard.
No,
he's not in the way that you're talking about.
Well, he's not even just a scoring point guard. That's not who he is either. So, again, I think the closest thing to a point guard the Kings have right now is still Malik Monk.
Yes.
And there is a possibility that, again, they can't improve the position better than Tyus Jones. If I'm having a wide open, hey, who's going to be my starting point guard, like an open competition during camp between Malik Monk and Tyus Jones, okay, maybe that makes some sense because I think Malik Monk would win. And then you've got Tyus Jones as your backup there.
Sure.
Problem is we get back to the idea of a backcourt with Malik Monk and Zach LaVine, and just the fact that they're not good enough defensively. So yeah, we're just like, it's circular.
Here's and this is where, as you say that, this is, I think, one of the biggest problems the Kings are facing. Is it feels like every solution comes with a new problem. It's like, okay, you can plug one hole, but that's going to open another one. And that's what makes this offseason so difficult. And it's why I keep leaning on, man, this isn't about this offseason. This is about the next couple of off seasons.
Yeah.
And I think the way the Kings should be viewing this is less need a point guard, need wing depth, need another big, somebody who can play a small ball five, something. It's less about those individual needs. And I think for me, more about, you hear the phrase where from the movie Miracle, one of my favorites, not looking for the best players, I'm looking for the right ones. I think this year in this offseason needs to be more about establishing identity and establishing the culture that Doug Christie and Scott Perry want to establish. If Tyus Jones is a player that they're like, you know what, this guy is going to do, and I don't know that he is, but he's just the name that came up. If Tyus Jones is the guy that they think is going to establish everything they want from their starting point guard with hustle and grit and making the right play and do it, cool. Then go get it. And worry less about they need a star level point guard or a scoring point guard to replace De'Aaron Fox. On the wings, and maybe less about can that guy shoot, but if he hustles and plays great defense and he's going to do all the little things, a Jake LaRavia type of player who maybe is not going to get them over the top. Maybe you're not a playoff team, but over the next couple of years, it's going to really benefit you to have a guy like that in your building. That is what this offseason needs to be more about, because you talk about trading for Trae Young. Okay, let's just say they're going to do that. That means a huge piece is going out the door. The Hawks aren't just going to give away Trae Young.
No, of course
so
not.
You're dealing a huge piece, which probably means, let's say it's Keegan Murray. Okay, well now, shoot. Okay, now you have to fill that spot.
Yeah.
Let's say it's Domantas Sabonis. Okay, well now what are you doing at center? It's Zach LaVine. Okay, well shoot. Now is Malik Monk going to be your starting two guard? Like now all of a sudden, okay, where's the scoring coming from? Like there's all these. Every answer brings a new, bigger question. And so I think for me, because again, I'm viewing this as more of like a 2 or 3 year project and a 2 or 3 year build back toward a postseason contender. I think this has to be about finding the right players, establishing that culture, establishing that play style, and just finding guys who are going to do that. To hell with how many points they score, to hell with how many positions they can play. Just get those guys in the building and start moving forward in that way.
Yeah, I think the one issue that you have about that idea,
sure,
is that you have players like Domas who have already put you on a clock saying, okay, like, look, what are we doing here? Because if you're not building something, then go ahead and let me go somewhere else. If you're not going to, like, this isn't what I signed up for type deal.
And I think this is a key aspect of the whole like trade Sabonis thing.
Yeah.
Is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or at least an aspect of it.
I would tell you that, like, I actually enjoy the fact that they have a player who's trying to hold a front office accountable and saying, hey, what are we doing? Please go get the players. I agreed with De'Aaron Fox the whole time. Like, we can't chastise De'Aaron Fox for saying, can you please go out and get some wings, when we've been asking for the same thing for 2 or 3 years. Like, it's the same. Like, so I don't have any problems with Domas saying, hey, look, like, please get talent. Please get players.
Yeah.
Because that's, if you bring in a guy and he again, almost 29 years old, like, how many years of my career do I have to waste here because you guys aren't going to put the team around?
Yeah.
And I don't care that you switch coaches. I don't care that you switch management. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is that, like, we're either going to be good or we're going to be bad. And if we're going to be bad, then you can find me somewhere else to play.
And all right, opening the can of worms we started the week with. I don't think that they're going to be able to find those pieces.
Yeah.
This year.
No, it's
like that's
you might be right.
And that's where it's like, hey, you got to figure out, can you quote unquote start over without hitting square one?
Yep.
And I guess we'll kind of see. That would, like I said, that would be my priority. We'll see what Scott Perry wants to do. We'll see what Doug Christie wants to do, and we'll know that once we see them start making moves. But that has to be for me, a bigger priority than anything. When they're looking at second round draft prospects, when they're looking at potential free agents, I think that's where they have to be looking more than like skill for skill. Who's the better player?
Yeah.
It's like, which guy is going to fit what we want to do, but we'll see how that goes. One of those guys that they may bring back is Jake LaRavia. He talked to Michael Scotto and said some really, really interesting things about new head coach Doug Christie. We'll get to that. And then, of course, at 11:20, Anthony Slater, who's covering the Oklahoma City Thunder for The Athletic, he's going to join us to talk about game one of the finals, which starts tonight. And you can hear that right here on ESPN 1320. And he's James Ham. That's Joe Brazil. I'm Kyle Madsen. We're the Insiders. We'll be back in a second on ESPN 1320 and Sacramento Sports Center. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, I started this.